What's going on, guys? This is Remy with Level 1, and I'm here to bring you a review for a Wi-Fi router that is pretty big deal. This is the Orbi Wi-Fi 6. The actual model number is RBK852. This is Orbi's new Wi-Fi 6. Obviously a step up model from previous generations, but you know, there's a huge difference between what that's pricing out to be now versus like what the Wi-Fi 6 version is priced out to be, which is nearly double. So I'm gonna give you a couple of notes on the actual Orbi Wi-Fi 6 and let you know, what everything entailed, if it is worth it or not. So first off, in the hardware side, design in general is very much a step up from the original model. The original model, which is pretty crazy, it used to be an expensive unit on its own, still technically is, but it being a pretty sophisticated Wi-Fi mesh, it was just a sort of white box. So you got kind of the actual router and the satellite unit, but this one is sort of this like plastic aluminum kind of design, pretty much a step up, and is actually a pretty attractive unit to have on your entertainment system or wherever you need it. And then obviously you'll put the satellites where they need to be, and they all actually look exactly the same. So, you have a cohesive looking router system in your home or your apartment. So that's pretty cool. The Orbi 6 actually has 4 Ethernet ports to actually connect to the unit, and then obviously a port in to put from your modem and stuff. This actually supports up to 2.5 gigabytes into the unit, so depending on where you're pushing things out to and what might be able to access that, this is definitely kind of up there in terms of what kind of access you have in the data stream. What's also really good is that all the satellite units also mimic exactly the way the router does, so there's no loss of ports or anything. You are obviously getting 4 ports out in the same way, so wherever you're putting this in your apartment or in your home or in your workstation, it's like having another router right where you have the satellite unit. So that's something to keep in mind compared to other units that obviously have like 1 Ethernet port out compared to the main router system, or even sometimes none. Now the software side of things, and now you'll get the obvious web page where you'll be able to change your settings, set up a VPN, go through various things with guest networks and stuff like that. So that's all the same. Netgear makes it relatively easy with all their units. Orbi is no exception if it's sort of leveraging that aspect of that. So you kind of get the same look and feel on the back end, on the IP side of things, when you're trying to change different aspects. What we did notice is that there's no real wizard to it, and that's not a big deal. I mean, if you're really trying to set things up for the first time, that's when you may need it. But for people that are getting something as kind of expensive as this, you sort of are in the higher tier level of like wanting or knowing about like your Wi-Fi system to know exactly how to connect that unit and put things like a mesh system and stuff like that together. The only difference is if you're not really in the basis of knowing too much about Wi-Fi systems, but you obviously have the money, so you paid to have all those units set up and stuff. So it's not something that's very painful. You could pretty much figure that out on your own, but just something to keep in mind, there is no wizard for this. And then there's the Orbi app. The Orbi app actually works relatively well in terms of its usability, just being able to access and see things from security, everything that's on the network, being able to test out your speeds and various things like that. Being able to go into the network and seeing what's on it, whether it's from the main router, whether it's from the actual satellite, or whether it's from a bridge that you connected, you can actually see each things that are pointed to the Orbi or eventually make its way to the Orbi, and you could actually shut it on and off with a moment's notice if you wanted to, if maybe something was pulling too much internet and stuff. It's also really cool to see like what your Wi-Fi speeds are and stuff. I mean, for us in testing our unit, it's basically that we have Verizon Fios, so 1 gigabyte of data, and as you could see, the test shows up pretty clear. We get nearly a gigabyte of data on upload and download, so that is pretty cool to keep aware of. In terms of all things Orbi, and you see the actual app, you have access to all these things. And I'm not sure about setting up any real things with VPN and stuff like that. You're gonna have to go into sort of the web page, or there's other aspects of the back end that you'll be able to do that with. But the actual app, on your iOS or your Android is more so of an overview and things you just have to kind of update or take over from there. Now, where obviously this is different is the bread and butter Wi-Fi 6. Now, is this worth you investing nearly double from the last unit to this unit. And obviously there are slight differences here and there. Actually some refer to this unit now having missing features from the last, but Wi-Fi 6 being obviously the thing that's a big step up. The question is how you see things. First, there's got to be, you must have devices that sort of support that actual hardware. And Wi-Fi 6, is better for things with apartments and walls and giving you better reliable speeds. Obviously, since not everything is also on that sort of band, so that's something to keep in mind. But I would say yes in terms of how reliable Wi-Fi 6 is and having it on your unit. We have phones like the S10, S20 Plus, and even the iPhone 12 mini that sort of support Wi-Fi 6, so you're taking advantage of those speeds. And then on the next gen side, the PlayStation 5, which we have that also supports Wi-Fi 6. So that's something that keep in mind when you're obviously trying to do longer sessions of gaming or even ranked matches for different things, Call of Duty, and you'd want to have things like that wired in. Wi-Fi 6, if it's close enough, is reliable on its own as well. And sadly, the Xbox Series X does not support Wi-Fi 6 as of now. So that's not something that I think that can be changed software-wise. We'll have to probably see the next iterations of that if they want to sort of meet that sort of expectation. There's nothing that necessarily needs it. That's more so like download speeds and stuff, since Wi-Fi 5 definitely meets the needs perfectly of what you need to game and have really good ping while gaming. But Wi-Fi 6 is just future proofing, so it's really good that the PlayStation 5 has that. So that's something to keep in mind even when you're making your next gen purchases. Overall, how did it work for me? I mean, I have a relatively big apartment space out here in New York City, so it's about 1,050 square foot. It's a longer apartment, so that means that my actual room hits the end of the other side of the apartment, and the actual router itself, or the main unit for the Orbi 6, is in the living room space. So it pretty much has to hit all the way down the hall and then through my door to obviously reach my room, unless I'm obviously having the door open. And it's in actually a little bit of confined space. Now, the Orbi 6 and even the Orbi mesh units in general are supposed to be pretty good about going through walls, even multi-floors in houses. I would say that there was a bit of a drop-off between that. I got around half the speed of which I was if I was in the main living room. That's not terrible. That's actually better than some other units that do the same thing, or me having to do different ends of trying to make a bridge here and there so that it reaches, versus just the Orbi doing that. I have a 2-pack system, so it's going from here to nearly 700 to 800 square feet length, and then behind like a wood door or a solid wall to get through to me. So having 200-300, possibly sometimes even 400 MBS down is not bad at all. It's probably one of the better performances I see. Would I like it to be higher? Yes. I mean, especially for the pricing. So I'm not sure if, various updates want to take care of something like that. Or realistically, what I can have is another satellite unit to sort of bridge the bridge to get perfect connection to where I am. The only issue with that is that with the 2-pack being the Orbi Wi-Fi 6, the RBK852. That being said, it's this unit in its own, this pack unit on its own is $700, which is pretty steep for a Wi-Fi system in general. But then you want to add another satellite unit to it, and that's about another $350 to $400 extra for another unit. So that's basically an extra pack, not knowing, would run you up $1,000. If I would settle then in for a 3-pack, which is sub $1,000, about $900. But even with that, that's a really relatively expensive Wi-Fi system to have, unless you're really taking advantage of a bunch of different features that it would have. Like, it being so user-friendly is probably one of its best features. Plug and play, everything sort of works the way it is. You never have to know if you're using the satellite unit, if you're using the main unit. It all knows where you are, and it sort of knows how to jump to the next Wi-Fi system without skipping a beat. So that's definitely where some of that cost and stuff comes into play. I would say if you're looking to upgrade into your entire Wi-Fi system, I would look into some maybe more of the cheaper Orbis in that sense, and try to get a couple of satellites to cover your entire home. If you seem like you have more than one Wi-Fi 6 unit that you want to take advantage of, I would definitely recommend the Orbi 6, especially if you're getting into next gen gaming. The PlayStation 5, having it is really, really good for it having future proof and being able to have all those games and stuff that you want download in lightning quick speeds. Although that's filling up the hard drive relatively quickly, since there is barely any space on the PS5 to begin with, and you cannot have an external drive on it yet. But that is a whole topic for another day. Otherwise, I would say, look at your Wi-Fi 6 units, look at what you might be getting in the future, take advantage of it, and all the multiple devices that you might have connected to it. And if you want just a plug and play system, this is gonna work perfect. Hope you guys like this video. This is pretty much more of a quick rundown of all the things that we enjoyed about the Orbi 6 and things that we would like to see sort of maybe improve. And then obviously weighing in the cost into all of that. Definitely like the video, subscribe to our YouTube, leave a comment below, let us know what you think of this, if you want us to get more in depth on things with Wi-Fi 6 or Orbi or Netgear in general, and if you want us to do any comparisons with some of the newer systems and what those speeds and stuff look like. Stay tuned as we do tons of giveaways. We have our Discord, we have our Twitch. Join in on the fun, watch us do some gamings, some giveaways, and a bunch of other things. This is Removal Level 1. I'll check you guys later.